Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Živile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Welcome to another episode of Perception Paradox, where we dive deep into the stories that challenge the status quo and reshape our perspectives. Today, we're joined by Kevad Belle Saarapera, CEO of Not Your Average Coffee, longevity and nutrition enthusiast, and 20 Under 20 Wise finalist. Kevad has been fighting to raise health awareness since she was 14. At the age of 18, she started developing the original superfood coffee brand, Not Your Average Coffee, to help people upgrade their daily habits. Entrepreneurship at a young age and biohacking longevity will be our focus for today. Welcome, Kevad.
Welcome. I'm super happy to be here, Sibyl.
I'm so happy to have you here. How are you doing today? I saw some great news on LinkedIn happening.
Yes, it's really exciting being finally incorporated in the States with the company, as it has been always since day one, the mission. So very excited, but at the same time, I knew that's gonna come, so I'm also relatively calm.
That's really, really, really great news. And that's a big step also for your company because before now you were operating in the European market, right?
That's right, mostly in the Baltics and the European market. Yes, you can find us here.
Amazing. I would like to dive straight into the beginning. You're a very young founder, right? How did all start? What brought your entrepreneurship into your life at such a young age?
It's interesting because I never really planned on being an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be either a pirate or a cashier or something completely different. But I think I was, yes, as you mentioned, I was 14. I was on the backseat of my uncle's car in Canada, Toronto. We were driving, and I overheard a podcast of Dave Asprey's, who was allegedly father of biohacking. So he talked about different nutrition stuff and also lectins, which is like plant toxins, basically stuff that I never heard about because I learned that nutrition is food pyramid, but it turned out that's completely wrong and pretty much the opposite. So that really caught my ear and attention that, okay, there's so much more into this. And I started deep diving into this whole health topic out of just curiosity. And naturally, I first started with my home country, Estonia. And back then, in 2014, it was pretty bad. I think it was from ages 6 to 13, every third kid was either overweight or obese. And adults, it was about among men population, 50% the same, either overweight or obese. Females were a bit better situation, but it's getting worse every year. And this really shocked me. And I always believed that entrepreneurship is the most efficient way to change the world. So that's what really got me into this. I didn't want to just like talk about it. I wanted to do something about it. And as naive as I were, I didn't really know what I was getting into, but it just started somewhere. So we started making those superfood coffee blends in my dad's basement just to help people have healthier habits more easily just by drinking coffee. So that's where I got into it, and I've been in it ever since.
Wow, that's very impressive. And how did you come up with this idea to start with a superfood-infused coffee?
I've actually talked about it with the co-founder Anna that we co-founded it with. She's not with Not Your Average anymore, but the first 2 years we did it together, and we both remember it kind of differently. But I think it was just we wanted to really we put those. I remember we sat down in my dad's basement for like 8 hours, and the goal was to come up with the solution. So we put all those keywords to paper, what we want to solve. It has to be healthy, it has to be easy, all those things. And since we're drinking lots of coffee back then, but it was more those like lattes and some random coffees, but we started thinking like, what if this could be healthy? So that's how we started developing the idea. What if simple things such as drinking coffee could actually be healthy? And superfood coffees were born.
And what's the science and health benefits behind it? Because when it comes to coffee, I love coffee. I don't drink that often anymore, especially when I really got into this mycotoxins and all the mold issues with the coffee grinds, right? So I'm trying to get right now the mold-free coffee if I get a chance and became very picky. But what would be the superfood-infused coffee from a scientific perspective? What are the benefits and what kind of it does to the health?
Yes, this is one question that people always ask, is like this, and the second one is, do those superfoods actually are heat resistant, or do they survive the heat when you make coffee? And
Mhm.
coming back to, it's really interesting that you mentioned the mold and mycotoxins problem, because many people are not aware of this, that over 15% of commercial coffees have molds and mycotoxins that actually weaken your health. So you're basically intoxicating yourself every morning.
It's pretty bad,
And
actually.
it's pretty, to think about it, people usually are pretty shocked when they hear it, but many people don't know it, of course. But this can cause like the jitters, headaches, anxieties that people may confuse with just they may think it's caffeine intolerance, but that can be the toxins. So we also test for mycotoxins, orchotoxin A being the most dangerous or toxic one, and then of course add the superfoods, for
Mhm.
example, collagen. Superfood is a super wide term, right? But we use like
Yeah.
collagen, so you can get your daily dose of collagen in 2 cups or for 1 coffee. Then we use green tea extract that balances cortisol and helps you get rid of the jitters if people do. Then we have ashwagandha, maca. We have chosen all the ingredients to actually be suitable with coffee and enhance the coffee experience, but take away all the side effects that it could have, and also give you vitamin C
Mm.
like maca and other nutrients.
That sounds pretty healthy, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
And do you have a vision for the kind of company expansion? Is it going to be this kind of different superfoods that you're going to have as part of your portfolio? Or what is the direction right now you're heading with the not your average coffee?
That's a good question, because that's something that I always try to keep in mind, that it isn't about the product so much. It's about the whole mission of trying to make healthy lifestyle easier. So coffee, superfood coffees, is currently just a tool for it, and it's a really effective tool. So we'll definitely continue with this, but we're also bringing different other habits into play in the future, and we're trying to kind of make it the whole like lifestyle, so you can subconsciously make choices that actually benefit your health.
It is kind of a really like nice biohacking way to live better lives, but then I'm coming back to you with a question. What is biohacking? What is your definition? It became so popular lately that now everyone is a biohacker. Oh, I'm gonna go to the ozone therapy. I'm gonna biohack. But from my experience and what I've been digging into, that it's so many small simple details there's to begin with before you go to all those symptom elimination. What is your definition and how would you describe that? Mm.
Yeah, biohacking is definitely super trendy and kind of cliche right now. So uh, when, as biohackers, we have this small community here. We try to be more labeled as like health optimizers, or not use that word biohacking so much, because it's everywhere. But
Aha.
simply put, I would say biohacking is uh, trying to optimize or even improve one's health using all kind of different modalities, like technology, natural remedies, solutions, nature, um, all this stuff. But it's also trying to make it beneficial long term. So it isn't just a quick fix, but you make sure it actually doesn't have any downsides long term either. So it's trying to improve one's longevity as well, which is another trendy buzzword, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, biohacking is really
Yeah.
exciting. We have this small, well, essentially everyone's a biohacker in some way. It has been around. It's psychologically programmed into us evolutionary, even because when you, I don't know, take a cold shower, have a cold plunge, then you're basically biohacking. When you drink coffee, you can be biohacking. When you're walking outside, it can be biohacking. So it can be so many different things. But yes, I think a biohacker is someone who actually does the research for himself or herself, and make sure everything is also beneficial from a longevity perspective.
What are your personal biohacking practices and routines, if you have some?
Yes, there's it's an interesting trend that I've noticed we have this biohackers group of 20 in Estonia. We're not all Estonians, but we're based here. And first, everyone, when they get into biohacking journey, they go off with these like super extremes. They have all those gadgets. They're doing the light therapy every day, the IVs, tons of supplements, everything. And then they slowly come to more natural things. And it really turns out in the end that everything is coming back to the basics and like simple habits that we do every day. So I think when I had to name a few things that I've figured out during my 8 years of daily biohacking or biohacking as a lifestyle, I would definitely say one is going back to making sure those simple things are you're doing these good, like sleeping, your sleep is good, you're getting enough sunlight, you're working out, you're eating nutritious, preferably organic foods, super basics. And then my second recommendation would be on top of it that before you start implementing those new things that like benefit you or taking supplements, you eliminate things that might sabotage you. So otherwise, it won't be much help if you take all those supplements, but at the same time you're living in a house with mold or doing things that are really wrecking your health. So I think that's the second thing. And the third thing that's also super interesting that I've realized is that we started this biohacking community like 5 years ago, I think. And at first, everyone was super technical. We were talking about different studies. We're just like nerdy about the details of different diets, supplements, whatsoever. And I've noticed a trend that in the last gatherings we've had, the topics have gone more spiritual. There's more self-development involved, like emotional health, mental health. All those topics are more irrelevant. I feel like old school biohacking is more just like taking the physical body and optimizing this as much as you can. But the like new school, which I even think can be more important, is actually doing the mental and spiritual and emotional work. Because from my experience, for example, I'm going to therapy and we're discussing why I often feel so tired and drained. And then we realize that this is because I have this tendency to kind of always put myself second and try to make sure everyone's always doing okay, everyone's having a good time, everyone else is happy, and then not be able to take like this love and help from them. And this is training me, obviously. So it wouldn't matter if I was taking those supplements to give me energy every day if I didn't fix this root problem that's subconsciously always training me. So I feel like these days biohacking is also this like spiritual side and everything like as a whole, complete, working on all aspects of human psyche.
That's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing. It's like mind-body connection. I'm very glad to see that what we have right now coming out into the public field more and more. That Dr. John Sarno, I'm not sure if you heard about him, the American doctor who was an advocate for chronic pain being actually not a physical pain, but the pain coming from your brains and more like psychological. And that all those migraines, lower back pains, it's not because of our disc herniation. It's quite great to see that also, of course, that more doctors are supporting that, including Gabor Mate and some others, that actually it's all about our mind. What kind of emotions are we suppressing? So very interesting to hear you sharing this realization, and that the community of biohackers are moving towards that direction as well. And I wanted to ask actually one more question relating to the biohacking, that What about the gender? Does it matter and is it the same? Because we kind of get those recommendations and ideas. You should consume this supplements, you should behave this way. Additionally to the daily routines like sleep, nutrition, and rest, what is your knowledge when it comes to the gender? Is biohacking the same, or do we need to have different approaches based on the body composition and hormones?
This is definitely a really important topic, especially for everyone, all the women out there who are getting into biohacking and super enthusiastic about it, wanting to try out everything at first. I had to really learn it the hard way. From my experience, for example, when I started, I think it was back in 2019 or 18 when fasting really was growing as a trend. And of course, I was going through all those papers, and everything seemed like fasting is a magic pill, and you can do it as much as you want,
Mhm.
and the longer you do it, the better, right? And naturally, I started doing it. I did 18-hour fasts, intermittent fasts every day, and every other week I had 2 to 3 day prolonged fasts, and I was doing this for months. And at first, it felt good. You really understand how emotionally connected you are to food, how much you think about it, how much it takes to prepare it, everything. So my productivity grew, my energy grew at first, but then eventually, as months flew
Mhm.
by, I started getting those hormonal issues. I got acne. The sweating got weird. Everything started to go a little bit wrong, but I didn't at first really make the conclusion that it was fasting, because fasting was supposed to be only healthy, right? So I started looking into health,
Oh yeah.
like women's health, and in biohacking in general. Like, what are there studies made on women that we're reading? And then it turned out that most studies are made on men, and at some point it was only men that were in trials for the studies. Because when you think about it, it really makes sense, because us as women have those cycles of, like, let's say 28 days, and our hormones are different every day, so they fluctuate, and making studies with women is more expensive, it takes more time, it's just like harder and more annoying. So it makes more sense to use men who have those like 24-hour cycles, and it's super easy. So we just like made the studies on men and assumed the results are similar or the same, actually. So, and there's the result to that is, firstly, women are wrecking their health a lot. For example, women are nearly twice as often as men likely to experience adverse drug reactions to different dosages, because women shouldn't get the same dosages as men.
Hmm.
And of course, like fasting that I experienced myself, and there's so much to this. So this really, when you're a woman and you start biohacking, you have to do much more research and really see which
Mhm.
things are taken as facts. But I also see that's kind of a gift, because it really also teaches us to listen to our body the most, which in the end is the most important, to just like really feel what feels good on my body, not trust things blindly. I mean, science papers are a nice entertainment, of course, I still read them, but I really learned to, when I do something or take some supplements or experiment with something, I try to feel, does it actually give me energy? Is it supporting me? And then make a final decision based on this.
Very interesting, and it sounds kind of tricky and dangerous in a way if you're not aware. And following just the protocols, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
from Brian Johnson, who is doing everything to extend the longevity and his lifespan. It's quite interesting. It's a lot of uh, cool stuff happening there, and interesting to watch. Okay, but
Hmm.
talking then about being more conscious and being more aware, right? Also, nutrition plays a very major role. How can we be more actually intentional what we consume, both nutritionally and informationally? What would do you have your own secret recipe? Because, for example, I don't know, I go shopping and especially coming to a new place, finding your new daily routines with all the travels, and sometimes you just like want to, I don't know, you're shocked because how much processed food is there, how many secret ingredients, and then you can start feeling on your body reactions if you kind of more into the clean eating. What is your secret recipe for that? Because you can go mental, you can go really mad when you start reading all the labels.
Yeah, it's kind of the the reality of doing this biohacking or health optimization, that if you're kind of obsessed with all the labels, it can get really really crazy, and you will realize that everything can be bad for you essentially. But there is no secret recipe that works for everyone, definitely. And I know it's a cliche, but it just is. But I think what works for everyone is just like choosing the eating organic, for sure. Here in Europe, we are lucky to have those regulations, and our food and quality is much better than, for example, in the States, where even organic label doesn't matter too much anymore. And but really get as much as you can from farmers, local farmers, just the organic stores, smaller stores. You can feel the difference in the taste as well. The quality is just so different, and you already get more nutrients and less pesticides and glyphosate and everything that's actually intoxicating you. So I think that's the easiest way. And as you mentioned, the processed food, avoid this. Try to cook your own food from raw ingredients, and yeah, just these simple things make the most impact. And also water. Unfortunately, this is really a sad thing to think about, that the nutrient levels in our food are getting smaller every year, and also water we drink isn't super healthy anymore. So I use reverse osmosis filters for that, to really get like good water, because that's something you drink a lot during the day. And yeah, it can get really sad to think about all those things that can go wrong, and how everything can be toxic. So you really have to have this strong mental space to make your decisions, and you can't be 100% perfect. So you have to make some sacrifices sometime, and really keep that healthy mind, and not stress too much about it, because that will make it even worse. So I'm just trying to eat organic, eat clean, cook my own food, get it from the local farmers, avoid like this raw gluten as much as I can, eat more ancient grains. Yes, that's the
Eat
it's
seasonal
really
as
as
well,
simple as it
right?
gets. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we also eat seasonal, instead of trying to get some fresh tomatoes in the winter season, we go for something that you can get in the local area. Actually, a few weeks back, we had also Jerome, who is a founder of Palau Project. So what they created an app that helps you to trace and see where the food comes from. Talking about Europe and the roots, so you're coming from Estonia, right? So how your Estonian roots and the environment influence your health-conscious mindset, do you think?
Oh, wow, that's a really interesting question. I've never really thought about it this way,
Uh-huh.
in relation to my country and my origins. But definitely, I feel there is a big advantage of living in such a country where we're the most atheist country in Europe, I think, and but we believe in nature. So all the grandmas always pick those different herbs and grow their own food, and that's really normal here. That grandmas have their own gardens, and really teach you about the nature. So I'm really fortunate to grow up in Estonia in that sense, definitely. So nature and those organic things are really natural to me, and I'm super grateful for it. And definitely we have this really nice digital world. So if we want, we can learn anything and about that anything online as well. So I think Estonia is a perfect place for that, definitely, to be. It's a good perspective. I never really thought about it like this.
That's amazing. And is your family as well coming with the interest into business entrepreneurships and some biohacking, or just you picked up that from that podcasting while driving somewhere in Canada?
Mm, that I've always also thought about regarding health. My mom has always been more into the natural solutions rather than some pharmaceuticals, or when I I had a headache when I was little, and so I didn't instantly get a pill and so on. So definitely I got something from there. But I don't know where I think it's about the obsessiveness and kind of the not liking authority that really got me into biohacking and the curiosity. So I don't think it's so much the lifestyle and environment as it is traits that really have built this quality in me. So my dad is a super curious person. I think I might have gotten this from him and all those things, and also wanting to create some impact. My mom is a therapist, a psychologist, family therapist. So there's the impact part and wanting to help people. And I really put just my twist into it, which is entrepreneurship and health.
It feels like you have really the strong ethical standards and kind of a lot into the sustainability. When it comes to your company business, not your average coffee, how your products align with your values for health? How do you make sure that you stay true to that? It's pretty complicated.
It is complicated, especially in this nowadays world when most of people, there's this like wealth gap is so big and people want the cheapest options, which makes sense often because they just don't have the money. But at the same time, if they have the money, they like prioritize maybe buying like designer clothes in contrast to buying like actual healthier products. So people usually expect cheaper prices. So to position ourselves, to really stay true to it, to find our clients that care about health and are willing to pay the price that it is to get ethical products and actually healthy products is definitely not easy. So having those values and staying true to them is takes work, but we really I wouldn't sell anything I don't drink myself. So I consume my coffee almost daily as well, and I really develop all the products according to what I want myself. So we just launched it, the raspberry leaf tea, which I was drinking myself for months and really helped with my PMS, and I wanted to share it. So we came up with this. So all the products are something that I have experimented, I found out that work for me, and I want to share them. And about the ethical side, we definitely, this is a really sad part of the coffee industry as well. We started off in 2019 with just the idea of coffee. We thought all the coffee is the same, so we had pretty much the cheaper side of coffee that we used. And then when I started looking into it, it's the prices or like the farmer conditions, everything. It can be really, really horrifying. So we switched our beans. We switched basically everything to be more ethical, traceable. That's why also the prices are more premium, because we really use the most like organic, toxin tested, ethical, where farmers are educated. Right now we're using Peru beans where they're female farmers only. So there's like this female program and they really educate them about the business, entrepreneurship, the coffee, because often the coffee farmers have never tasted the coffee themselves. So there's like those third world or like developing countries that are actually working for us. So us Nordic people can drink this really nice specialty coffee and so on, but that's really a sad thing to think about. So we can do our small contribution to this, and we're trying to do this. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How did you find the partners actually for coffee? Is it because the market is so competitive, right? Is it something that you build the network and then somehow you get the contacts, or you went to the other side of the world?
It's both, but I think mostly it was I really wanted to learn about coffee when I was on this journey. So a few years ago, I went to the best roastery in town, like a small coffee roastery. It had two roast masters that has won all the possible coffee prizes in Estonia, and they were like the top of the tops. And I just went there. They would have never hired me for anything. I didn't have any skills, but I just went there and asked if they wanted I can give free help. I can help them package. I can help them do whatever they need to be done in exchange for them to teach me about coffee, teach me about way of preparing coffee, the way of roasting coffee, different regions, how they taste different, all the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my first contacts regarding farmers really came from there, because when coffee tastes good, then it's probably also produced good, because when you don't care about the environment, about anything, then the coffee will probably be pretty low quality as well. So they really taught me about this like really good coffee and what it takes and all the farmers. So I got my first contacts from there. And then 2 winters ago, we also went with my boyfriend to Central America. The goal was to get to Peru to actually go to the farms, but it turns out
Wow.
American continent is so much bigger than that. So we started
Yeah.
from Mexico and we ended up in Nicaragua. So halfway.
Okay, halfway. That sounds good. Very inspiring. So basically, one of the learnings I can hear, it's just being curious and taking those steps and trying things and asking. And I would like to go back a bit into you being a young entrepreneur. What are the challenges you faced so far uh, when you got into entrepreneurship? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
predefined biases as being a female young entrepreneur straight out of school. Well, you started while you were still in high school, no?
When we go back to the fact that I started when I was 14, well, then was like student firms, which was just experimenting and trying to get the
Uh-huh.
feeling of it and just wanting to do something. They were also related to health, but the actual limited company was founded in, yes, when I was 18. So it's the age where you could actually found a company. But about the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
I've been pretty much grown by the entrepreneurship world. So there's a lot of different sides to it. There's a lot of salesiness. There's lots of hypocrites. There's lack of integrity. There's also lots of integrity. So you really get to see everything, and you really have to choose which values are yours and hold like super close onto them, because it can be easy, as I mentioned, in this capitalistic world and competitive world, to really hold on to, for example, the quality aspect, when you could easily get some random coffee and probably sell much more. So to really hold those qualities, it has been a journey, and there's always challenges. I like to believe that all people are good in essence. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
rather naive, but I also believe that it is a good quality. You need to be a little bit naive to be an entrepreneur, or to just be a positive person in general. So I don't think it's a bad quality, but it's definitely, I maybe have more trust in people than I should sometimes, and it can backlash, but also I won't change it. I would just, what I've learned is always to have contracts with all the partners, everyone. That will save a lot of time, hustle, nerves, heartbreak. So this is, I will still trust people, but I will also have like contracts with them. So that's something that I've learned. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a different two-sidedness in this world.
Yeah, always two sides of a coin, but there's always, I believe, in karma,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things go back with the boomerang. And when it comes to those difficult moments, sometimes when we're building, creating something, it really just affects us so hard that we might just reach a bottom and never uh, go back. And what I mean by reach the bottom, just I don't know, we give up, clash. How do you deal, and do you have any kind of practices that you do when you are going through more difficult times?
I feel this is really a common issue among entrepreneurs, or this trying to do something with impact in the world, because offer you put yourself second and don't think about your needs that much. And many entrepreneurs burn out or are burnt out and don't notice it. It is very often the case when you
Mm-hmm.
want to accomplish something big. So it is super important to consciously take time to rest, work on yourself. I think this like inner work always pays off, and when you really know why are you doing something, if you're doing this just to work fix some childhood wound or prove your parents that you're worthy or something like this, then you will probably burn out and do the wrong things. I've seen many examples of this. Or when you actually want to share
Yeah.
some value and to the world, and do it from a good place, then it's totally different result and you will enjoy the experience so much more. I've been in both extremes, so I can really speak for myself on this one. And yeah, really sometimes taking time back to just relax, and also it's okay. I feel like as those value or impact entrepreneurs, we often say that, oh, we're only doing, money doesn't matter, and so on. But I think it's okay to also think about like the profitability of things and the profits, because when we don't have the roof above
Mhm.
our heads, then we can't really help anyone else. So it's okay. It's something that I'm trying to get myself to do, because my dad is a total art person, so I kind of have this artsy side to myself as well. And money doesn't matter. I will just do it for the impact, but also I need to live. I need to pay rent and buy food and all that stuff. So trying to
Mhm.
integrate and be okay with both aspects. It's also an interesting challenge for many who are doing like this out of passion.
And what would you say to someone who, let's say, right now in a very stable job, but feels, I don't know, not fulfilled in a way, and that their kind of next step is somewhere else where it's more risky, but they're afraid to take that first step? What would you say to someone who is in this situation?
Hmm. It's always a risky recommendation to make, because I don't think everyone should be entrepreneurs. I really respect people
Mm-hmm.
who are working from 9 to 5, and it's working from them for them because they value security and stability and so on. But of course, when you know in your heart that you want to do something else, then probably this feeling will not go away. You can't ignore it, so it will only get stronger anyway. So it's just a matter of time. So if a person feels this, they will probably make the step anyway someday. So why not make it sooner? But definitely
Mm-hmm.
make it more kind of to round the corners, and not like just like jump into unknown like completely, to make sure you have some maybe buffer budget to pay for rent. My friend's therapist gave him a really good recommendation on that. He's also working right now for a job, but he feels like he wants to do something else. So his therapist told him that
Mm-hmm.
okay, the goal is to have a 6 month fuck you budget. So basically, it's the budget that you have, and when you want to, you can just say fuck everything and just do nothing or do your own thing, and
Yeah,
you have the budget to do that for 6 months. So maybe if you have this feeling but also you feel like you're not ready, it always helps to have a therapist or a coach to work on it, and eventually make the leap.
amazing. And talking about yourself, do you have yourself some coaches in business?
In business, I've had a couple of mentors, but I would really love to have like this one mentor at some point. But right now, I feel as I'm exploring myself and different ways, it has been really useful to just talk to different people and get as many perspectives as possible, and not just like take them as truth,
Mm-hmm.
but just like really learning from everyone, because I think there's so much to learn from everyone right now. So currently, from a business point of view, I don't have a specific mentor. I haven't found this like perfect guru yet. So I'm trying to learn as much from everyone as I can.
Okay. And where do you see not your average coffee in upcoming years? Now, especially with this latest news that you have just announced?
Well, I guess in the American market then. But definitely we're hoping to
Okay.
launch in the first quarter next year, so 2024. And I think that has always been the plan, and I will definitely make sure to make it work. We'll have rebranding, everything, so it's really exciting, and we're hoping to, maybe not in 2 years, but eventually be like this household brand in globally, if not just like the United States, but globally.
That sounds really exciting. And just before we getting closer to the end, I would like to do a quick rapid fire round with you with few questions. Okay? Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
Okay. Your favorite superfood?
It's so hard. I would say
First thing in your
L-theanine.
mind.
L-theanine came up first. It's
Okay.
something that I've used for years.
And what does it do?
It basically is like green tea extract. So you put it in coffee and it helps to balance the anxiety or cortisol.
Ah, okay. A book that has profoundly influenced you.
First that came to mind was Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That was the
Mm,
first. I read
love
it
the book.
years ago, and that was the first of my like self development journey.
Okay, morning routine.
Get some sunlight first thing in the morning. Go out, have a 10-minute walk.
And a common health myth that you would like to debunk.
Which one will I will I choose? Well, I think that will be the thing that you always have to do those like super extreme stuff. And like you mentioned Brian Johnson, and he really makes this whole biohacking thing seem really like complicated. And when you do it, you have to be like 100% and do all the really crazy stuff. But I would say
Mhm.
you don't have to. But like this doesn't have to be so hard. It can really be as simple as just like sleeping well, eating good foods, organic foods, and just like trying to optimize those habits that you already have into being more beneficial and not
Yeah.
toxic.
Okay. So we're unfortunately getting to the final question, and I'm really a fan of having the mutual conversations, engagement, and some kind of smaller rituals. So we do have here a ritual that each guest asks a question to the audience. So what question would you like to share with our listeners that they could dive into today as we continue their journey of perception and self-discovery?
Can it be like a small practice?
Of course, that would be great.
Okay, I think that's something I've been practicing myself lately, and it's something that I'm working on right now. And this is actually
Hmm.
what's my brag would be the question, and it's to practice bragging consciously. So as for example, especially us as women, we often bond with other women through this more like sadder things, or we're more like empathetic, and we might like talk about relationships or discuss like traumas, or when somebody makes a compliment and we're like, oh, that's not a big deal, or maybe give credit to someone else. And this is really common. So I'm trying to consciously practice bragging and really not noticing when I'm downplaying myself in social situations, and really being proud of. I'm really proud to be here as a 22-year-old to share my life and have people listen to it. I think it's a really big deal, and I worked really hard on it. So I really think I deserve it. And what's your brag, Sybil, today?
Well, for today, I think for today, my day started with my preparation for next week Web Summit conference where I'm hosting some stages. So yeah, that would be that I'm very excited and very glad to be on such a big stage and share it with so many great speakers. So yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing.
that would be very,
You
very
really deserve
work
it.
focused, but that's thank you. And thank you. I'm really happy that you came to the podcast and that we met. Really, really appreciate your time. And I guess, final question, where can people follow your journey?
And I share the most in my Instagram, which is Kevad Belle, my first two names. And yeah, I share the most there. So if there's any other updates, and of course, our company's Instagram is Not Your Average CEO or Not Your Average .coffee, which is the website. So there you can see what the company is doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kevad. And dear listeners on Spotify, you can engage with some comments. So make sure that you share what's your brag of the day in the comments section. We can't wait to see and share the happiness among each others. And just so you know, your time and support mean the world to me. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day wherever you are. Thank you, Kevat.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.